What is the limit of human strength? How far can we go when the pain seems unbearable, when hope feels like an empty word? And perhaps the hardest question, even in the absolute darkness, in that situation we call impossible, is it still possible to find some meaning, some reason to go on? Today we will seek answers not in distant theories, but in the real and profound experience of a man who lived through hell on earth and came out with a transformative message, the psychiatrist Viktor Frankl. Viktor Emil Frankl was an Austrian neurologist and psychiatrist of Jewish origin. He already had a promising career when World War II and the horrors of Nazism swallowed his life. Frankl, along with his pregnant wife, parents, and brother, was deported to concentration camps. He went through 4 of them, including the infamous extermination camp, Auschwitz. He lost almost everyone he loved. He witnessed and endured extreme hunger, freezing cold, brutal forced labor, human cruelty at its lowest level, and the constant threat of death. He not only survived physically, but used this unimaginable experience as a laboratory to deeply understand human nature and what keeps us standing when all seems lost. Inside, Frankl, as a psychiatrist, observed carefully. He saw that survival did not depend solely on physical strength. There was something more. People who seemed fragile managed to resist, while others, physically stronger, succumbed to despair and gave up on life. What was the fundamental difference? Frankl's conclusion was striking. Those who managed to maintain a meaning for life, even if it was just a thread of hope, a why to keep fighting, had a much greater chance. It was the connection with a future purpose, with a love, with a task to fulfill that gave the inner strength to endure the terrible present. This insight became the core of the psychological approach he developed, logotherapy, where logos means meaning in Greek. Frankl argued that the most fundamental motivation of the human being is not the pursuit of pleasure, as Freud said, or the pursuit of power, as Adler suggested, but the search for meaning in one's own existence. When this search for meaning is frustrated, when we feel our life has no purpose, we fall into what he called existential vacuum. And this vacuum, he said, is the cause of many neuroses, anxieties, and despairs we see today, even in societies with far more material comfort than he had in the camps. The lack of a why makes us sick. Okay, but how to find meaning when life takes everything away? When you are naked, hungry, humiliated, facing death up close? Frankl, observing survivors and his own experience, identified 3 main paths where meaning can be found even in the worst circumstances. Creating work or performing a deed, meaningful action. The first path is through doing, through action. Finding meaning in what we accomplish, the work we perform, a creation, an act of kindness. In the camps, this could be a doctor who continued to care for the sick with the few resources available, a musician who played to ease others' pain, someone who used a skill to help a fellow prisoner, or even the dignified way someone performed forced labor. The lesson? Our work and actions, however simple they may seem, can be a powerful source of meaning if approached with purpose and dedication. Experiencing something or encountering someone, love and connection. The second path is through experiencing, through feeling, finding meaning in experiencing beauty, even fleeting, like a sunset seen through a crack, nature, art, and above all, finding meaning in loving someone, the deep connection with another person, care, the memory of a beloved face, that kept many prisoners alive. Frankl recounts how intensely thinking of his wife gave him strength to continue. The lesson? Love. True human connections, the ability to appreciate beauty, are vital sources of meaning that nourish the soul. Through the attitude we take toward inevitable suffering, this is perhaps the most difficult and profound path. When we cannot change the external situation, incurable illness, irreparable loss, brutal injustice, as in the camps, there still remains the possibility of finding meaning. In the attitude we choose to have towards that suffering, we can give in to bitterness, despair, or we can choose to face the pain with courage, dignity, perhaps even finding a way to grow through it. Frankl saw men walking through the barracks consoling others, giving their last piece of bread. They found meaning in their ability to choose nobility even in hell. The radical lesson? Our greatest freedom is to choose how we respond to what life brings, especially when it brings pain. This third path is the heart of Frankl's message. He wrote, "They can take everything from a man, except one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Even when we are deprived of everything externally, our inner freedom to choose our response remains. And it is in this choice that we find our dignity and often our deepest meaning. We are not just passive victims of fate, we can give a meaningful answer to it." Frankl's experience was extreme, incomparable for most of us, but the lessons he drew are universal and speak directly to our modern anxieties, our searches for happiness and meaning. What does he teach us? Don't run from the question of meaning. It is the most human quest there is. What really matters to you? Seek actively. Meaning does not fall into your lap. Explore the three paths. What can you do? Create. Who or what can you love? Appreciate. What attitude can you choose in the face of your difficulties? Remember your inner freedom. Even when things get tough, even when you cannot change the situation, your attitude is still yours. Use this freedom with wisdom and courage. Suffering doesn't have to be the end. It can, paradoxically, be a door to deeper meaning if faced with the right attitude. Viktor Frankl showed us that even in the ashes of absolute despair, the flame of the human search for meaning can remain lit. And it is this flame that allows us not only to survive, but to find a purpose to live, no matter how impossible the situation may seem. May this lesson inspire us to find and live our own meaning with courage and hope. What do you think about the search for meaning amid pain? Share your reflection in the comments. If this story and these ideas touched you, share this video and leave your like. Much strength on your journey, and see you next time.